All right, I think Bill Wilson, President of Americans for Limited Government, can hear us now. Bill, I'm sorry about the difficulty with your hearing device. Let's talk about whether the president wants to go off the fiscal cliff or not, because it is, some people would say it's an outrageous suggestion. A lot of his people say that. Why do you think it's so?
Well, I think it's crystal clear that that's the case. His response on Thursday night when the House suspended action was to offer what he called a small proposal, spend another $30 billion, no spending cuts, and let's go back to my tax plan. That's not trying to move the ball forward. That's rubbing salt in a wound. And I think that it's crystal clear that he wants to go over the cliff in an attempt to force the Republican House to cave in to what he wants.
Well, let's be clear about what he's done and what he does want. He wants to maintain spending at a pretty high level. He increased it about 25, the baseline, he increased about 25%. If we go over the fiscal cliff, he gets a lot more money. It's not just rich people paying out, which would only pay about 1/10 of the deficit. He'll get a lot more money, so he does want that. He'll get a cut in the military. He doesn't seem to be particularly bothered about that. And if anything goes wrong, he can blame Republicans for it, right?
Right. No, from his standpoint, it is a win-win across the board to go over the cliff, have the automatic sequester cuts, take the tax increases, go back to the Clinton-era rates, which would then bring him somewhere in the vicinity of $400 billion more a year, and that when the economy reacts, as it most certainly will, negatively, then he's going to blame the Republicans for putting us into a recession.
But again, let's put a fine point on that. What we are suggesting here, and this is, again, from the president's people, they call it an outrageous suggestion, is that the president is willing to send this country into a recession to get what he wants in terms of readjusting spending and taxation. You're really saying that?
I think that he's willing to gamble. I believe that the president and his advisors have looked at the history of Congress, and they know that when we get a major market event, large drop in the stock market, any other reaction from the economy, that those members of Congress will immediately concede. It is the exact same process that happened with TARP back in September of 2008. And it has been, if you really look at it, what got us where we are now through the debt ceiling fight in August of 11. And so in that case, we had the Moody's downgrade, which was sufficient to then have everybody embrace the sequester idea.
Okay,
so
Bill,
I think...
Let me just ask, because we're running out of time. The Wall Street Journal had a piece over the weekend in which they went tick-tock through the various elements that led up to Friday's dismissal of any kind of negotiation. And at one point, Speaker Boehner was in a meeting with the president, according to somebody who was there, and Boehner said what he was willing to compromise on, allowing tax rates to go up for the rich, for some of the rich, et cetera. And he said, what do I get back from you, Mr. President, for that? And the president said, I get that for free. In other words, I'm not going to negotiate anything with you. I'm not going to compromise at all. With that kind of attitude, why was Speaker Boehner willing to compromise what he was willing to compromise if he wasn't getting anything back?
I believe that the Speaker is operating under the theory of statesmanship, whereas the president is operating under the theory of politics and power politics, and that it comes down to nothing more than that. But
well, that's a miscalculation, is it not? And if since that is a miscalculation, should that be means for removal of Mr. Boehner as Speaker? Are Republicans going to call for his removal?
I think that there is a growing sentiment inside the Republican caucus that the Speaker is not up to the task. He'll have another shot later this week, and hopefully he'll step up to the occasion.
And if he doesn't, who takes his place?
Well, I think the odds are, I mean, it's a very difficult politic, but the odds are high that Majority Leader Cantor would assume the position. Mr. Cantor has been an incredibly loyal soldier to Speaker Boehner, and I think that he'll continue to be. But there's clearly a need for a stronger, tougher negotiator and someone who is playing on the same set of rules as the president. Right now, it does not appear that the speaker meets either of those criteria.
Very interesting. Bill Wilson, a man who knows a lot about what goes on inside the Beltway. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
And that's nothing new, right?
Thank you,
They've been
David.
going at it since the first debt ceiling
They have indeed.
debate of a year and a half ago.
And that's a whole other debate that's
Right.
coming up. Now.